Hello, you big bunch of sexy bastards. It's me, E.L. James, writer of erotic fiction. And for those of you who are wondering, the E.L. stands for erotic lust. Now, as most of you are probably aware, 50 Shades of Grey, it began life as a Twilight fan fiction, which just goes to prove the old adage, you can't polish a turd. But anyway, during lockdown, I've been right busy with me sexy little pen, scribing away to create more erotic fiction, specially for you lovely sexy bastards, just to prove that I am a master of all genres. So without further ado, I'm proud to present me latest sexual epic. In space, no one can hear you cream.
Captain Helen Westwood stared out of the airlock in awe. The vast expanse of space opened up before her like a massive gape. She had never known such unending blackness, except for that time when she got lost in Norwich. Helen felt like she could be the last person in the universe, but she knew she was not alone. For in a deep sleep, in a cryo chamber just a few meters away, lay her space companion and colleague, Dr. Maurice Throbworth. Dr. Maurice Throbworth, or Doc Cock as he was known to the young female students in space school, was a handsome man in his late 40s. He was tall, with an athletic build, bearing in mind that people that play curling are considered athletes. He had a towering intelligence and an arrogance that could be considered sexy, like a big, sexy lion. And he had the mane to match. Thick, blonde, silken locks that cascaded down his shoulders like a waterfall that was made of hair instead of water. But his glorious hair was only a minor distraction from what was going on further down below. The bulge in his space trousers demanded attention, snaking down his thigh like a sports sock full of meat, resting atop his voluminous testicles, looking like Gonzo from the Muppets if he was on an upside-down roller coaster. Helen shook these thoughts off as quickly as they had come. Such thoughts were entirely inappropriate. They were professionals. He had been her tutor at space school, and above all else, he was married. And how could she even compete with Mrs. Throbworth? She was one of the most beautiful women on the planet. She was glamorous and sexy, but sophisticated with it, like one of those ladies that used to be on the side of a Tennent's lager can in the 1980s. How could she compete with her mousy brown hair and innocent girl-next-door appearance? She wasn't in the same league. In fact, she was literally not even in the same galaxy, because they were in a different galaxy. She and Maurice were the only people to people this peopleless place. As the airlock porthole misted up, she realized that she was breathing rapidly. Either she was becoming breathlessly aroused, or it was her congenital emphysema flaring up again. Her chest heaved as her breath hitched, not in the same way that you hitch a caravan to the back of a car. The other kind of hitched. Helen ran her hot palm down the small window to clear it, and reflected back at her in the thick glass was the face of Maurice. He was standing directly behind her. She felt his hot breath on the side of her face as he whispered in her ear, the sultry, echoing tones of his sexy Birmingham accent ringing in her brain. "All right, love. How you doing?" Helen must have been so lost in her own world that she failed to hear the hiss as his cryo tube opened, allowing Dr. Throbworth to emerge from his sexy slumber. Too engaged in her own sexual reverie to hear him come up behind her, stalking her like a stoat stalking a small vole. And now she was trapped. Nowhere to go, sandwiched between him and the thick hull of the spaceship like a little sexy sandwich. Hull meaning the main body of the ship, not the awful town in Yorkshire. But unlike the River Hull's famous tidal barrier, Helen's own tidal barrier was overflowing. The other main difference was that Helen's tidal barrier was internal and metaphorical, whereas the River Hull's tidal barrier was an actual tidal barrier, controlling the flow of a big brown dirty river. But Helen's river was neither dirty nor brown. It was an emotional river, and there wasn't a tidal barrier big enough to hold it back. This was her chance. It was just the two of them, and the look in his eyes allayed all doubt she had about whether or not he wanted her. He was champing at the bit. His big brown eyes looked at her hungrily, like the way a half-starved basset hound looks at a bowl of tripe. The small, metal room they were in felt hot. The air felt thin, but again that could have just been her congenital emphysema. Maurice closed the gap between them, enveloping her body with his reasonably muscular arms. She felt herself being swept up by him and pressed close, felt the rigid girth of his lust as he pumped his childbearing hips towards her. Faster and faster, hotter and hotter, two lost souls joined as one, writhing like a multi-limbed, sweaty space monster. Hands desperately fumbling to release themselves from their spacesuits. Faster and faster, hotter and hotter, desperately kissing and caressing. But it was too much. Months in deep space, combined with loneliness and too much unspoken sexual tension in the atmosphere, took its toll. With a low moan, and a facial expression that made him look like a gurning chimp, he spaffed himself.
Blimey! I don't know about you, but that got me rather hot under the collar. Well, I'm off to clean myself up. Don't forget to listen out for more erotic adventures of E.L. James. Ta-ta for now, you big sexy bastards.